Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. Okay, so in today's video we are going to be taking a look at the anger, turn-ons and motivations of those of you who have Mars in the sign of Taurus, so stay tuned. Now, I did ask you, my subscribers, to answer some questions in relation to your Mars sign. And so in this video, we will, of course, be discussing the Mars and Taurus energy. I will post the questions in the description box for reference, along with the names of you individuals who took part, so I can give you full credit in this respect. So thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for taking part. I do appreciate it, because not only are you helping further my research, but you're also helping everybody here with their own learning. However, before we do dive into today's video, certainly make sure that you give this video a like if you do like it. Also, make sure to subscribe if you have not already, and to, of course, click that little bell icon so that you can keep yourself updated with further content from myself. And one more quick thing to mention, and that is that I have some personal readings available, I have merchandise pieces available, and I also have some practical ebooks there. So you can go to the links in the description box below there if you are interested. You can visit my website. Okay, so with all of those introductions out of the way, Mars and Taurus, let's do this. Alright, so what is it that makes you Mars in Taurus individuals angry? And which types of people make you angry specifically? Now, some key things that stood out to me is that you're most likely angered by people who try to rush you or push on you. Also by people who interrupt you when you're just chilling. You know, when you're just trying to unwind with your shows or with your snacks. You're just trying to relax, right? Also, people who devalue your hard work and your dedication and your efforts. These types may very well get on your nerves. And oh my goodness, if somebody else takes the credit for the work you put in, they better watch out, because you'll most likely set the record straight and you won't be a happy camper. And I suppose this leads me on to other types of people that make you angry. So looking at people who have inflated egos, people who display a superiority complex, like I'm so much better than you, or people who are just outright rude and nasty, especially with the intent of trying to make you feel weak or useless or worthless. In fact, it could be suggested that being undervalued is something you simply won't tolerate. Maybe to you, it's just uncalled for, and you don't understand why humans would make other humans feel that way. You know, it's interesting because what's often said about you Mars in Taurus folks, well, it's that you're slower. You're much more slower to anger in comparison to the other Mars signs. In fact, one of you who answered these questions, one of you said to me in your answers that it takes a lot for you to get upset. But once you do, you're like a bull in a china store, which I thought was an interesting choice of words, actually. And so I find this answer to be quite fitting with what's generally said. Now, of course, there's others of you who have more to say, which we will get to in the next question. But I think there's something about being undermined and devalued that goes hand in hand with your anger. So perhaps many of you can endure insults, for example, or you can endure petty comments or snarky remarks. And especially for those of you who really value yourselves, you can rise above ignorance, you can rise above false judgments from others towards you. But when people keep pushing, when they don't shut up and just know how to let it go, when they don't know how to drop it, then perhaps this is when you lose it and you think you've had this coming to you for a long time. And don't say I didn't give you a chance to back off. Don't say I didn't warn you. Next thing, you are seeing red and there is nothing anybody can say or do in order to make you calm down again, because now it's too late. Now all rationality has went out the window. Honest to goodness, these people who push are just not your cup of tea, Mars and Taurus individuals. And it's interesting because I recall one of you saying in your answers that you prefer to stay home than go to the shops, etc., where there are salespeople, these people who push. And this is because, well, you can't stand that pushiness from them. And also, I don't think you can tolerate people who deliberately try to get a reaction from you or from others. These people who intentionally seek to make other people upset or frustrated. Maybe you find this type of behavior to be highly immature and pointless. Also, I think you're quite clued in when it comes to others trying to take advantage of you, or when others are being insincere or inauthentic or cunning, sneaky. Perhaps you can't stand the sneakiness and you prefer it if others just be straight with you. After all, you are typically the types of people who tell it like it is. And so I think you tend to avoid manipulative types. Maybe you're quite good actually at picking up on people's true intentions in this respect. And if others treat you with disrespect, big no. In fact, I think you might be quick to call somebody else out for their disrespect. And if others come across as high and mighty, or as if they are so much better than others, you can spot this behavior from a mile away as you choose not to engage. Now, following on from this point, I think choosing not to engage with petty dramas and behaviors, well, it's something you do as an automatic response. Maybe you don't want to give others the impression that they've got to you. After all, that would mean greater self-satisfaction for them. And so why give them that? But the moment you feel cornered or restricted, or as if you can't remove yourself from a hurtful or from an upsetting situation, well, this may be when your anger and your rage comes out. Though I also think your anger may be linked with an inability to solve a problem, or with an inability of being able to come up with a practical solution. And so times when you feel like there's nothing you can do to resolve a stressful situation, for example, I think you can become very upset or angry. Or times when you have zero control of a situation, same thing. I suppose it's the feeling of being defeated. It's the feeling It's feeling as if you can't physically do anything to get yourself out of a situation. Yeah, these types of feelings may be very, very uncomfortable for you. But yet at the same time, I also think there's a part of you, Mars and Taurus individuals, that remain stuck at times, such as staying in an unhealthy relationship or staying in a job that doesn't actually serve you very well. Perhaps in these types of scenarios, sex or security or money, these things are big driving factors. Sex and money and security, they are a part of the reason for why you stay, perhaps. After all, it's these things that are linked with your drive in astrological terms. But yet, if you feel unfulfilled, there's no denying these feelings. So therefore, it might take you some time to move away from unfulfilling, dissatisfying relationships and jobs and living situations, for example. But once you get moving, after you have made your decision, that's it. There's no turning back. And again, if others add pressure by pushing on you, or if they question you with the intention of trying to make you stay, for example, you just might give them a piece of your mind. Though another thing to mention here is to do with your work ethic. So looking at how dedicated and driven you can be when it comes to work. Oh yeah, you Mars and Taurus folks, you work hard because you are driven by the pleasures that money can bring, that money can provide. You enjoy the materials you can buy with your hard-earned money, and so you got to make the effort. And so something that might anger you is when your hard work doesn't pay off well, or when you aren't recognized for your work ethic and your stamina. Therefore, you may strongly dislike it if your employer overlooks your hard work, or if they overlook your determination and your dedication, for example. Maybe you know just how much physical energy you put into achieving your goals. You know how much time you put into gaining some type of reward or personal satisfaction. And so when you feel less than when it comes to these things, well, maybe you then become frustrated, especially if you notice others out there gaining more than you whilst doing less work. It's like, what the hell? How is that fair? And I suppose this leads me on to another point, and that is greed. So looking at people who are purely money grabbers. Perhaps you become so annoyed by such people because there's zero loyalty there. There's no thought or conscious, slow action. And most importantly, there's no value. It's all inconsistent, disorganized desire. See, it's usually you Mars and Taurus individuals who seeks to provide value. So if you're a business owner, for example, you will want to sell a product that is worthwhile, a product that clearly showcases your dependability and your attentiveness, a product that illustrates how thorough and how well thought out you are. And so maybe you think, well, if I'm like this, why can't other people be like this? Perhaps it all depends on your value system and your moral compass, but maybe there's something about greed and power and control that can get to you sometimes, that can anger you sometimes. I mean, sure, you might recognize the benefits that money and materials can bring, and you might be driven and motivated by such things, but I think you still possess some type of decency and kindness. Furthermore, another thing that might make you Mars and Taurus individuals angry, that's cancellations or change of plans that happen last minute. Perhaps you prefer it if you are prepared, or if there's some type of plan so you know what times you're working with. And so when a sudden unexpected change happens, maybe that's really annoying, especially if your time is being wasted and impacted. And If it happens time and time again, you just might just blow your top. Then again, maybe there's times when you don't mind because it means you don't have to do much or you get to stay home. Yay! In fact, I think you can't stand it when somebody comes to you last minute and says, right, we are going out, be ready in 5. It's like, are you serious? Though the last thing I want to mention just before moving on to the next question, and that's how a few of you said, you're angered by people who mistreat animals. And I thought this was an interesting point to touch on because I think this shows the super supportive and protective side to you Mars and Taurus individuals. In fact, I think you're the types of people who are willing to fight on behalf of the innocent and you won't let things slide easily. Okay, so moving on to the next question, and that is, are you slow or quick to anger? And do you try to control it? Now, this is super interesting because most of the answers I received, they fit in with the general description of Mars and Taurus being slow to anger. However, when you reach that breaking point, there is no reasoning with you or there is no trying to get you to calm down. I noticed that you try your very best to control your anger, but perhaps sometimes to the point of completely hiding it altogether. Though maybe some of you control it because you know what will happen if you let the anger out. And to be honest, perhaps there's those of you who become physical when angry. So maybe you throw things or you hit things, but more on that within the next question. Though still, I think there's an element of having a physical release when it comes to your anger, which can be destructive, but also necessary at times. Though on the other hand, this physical release can come out in different ways, such as through physical exercise or relaxation. But essentially, perhaps controlling your anger seems like the most rational and logical thing to do at times. In fact, maybe some of you have a rational or logical reason for why something or someone isn't worth your anger or your frustrations. Maybe there's times when you choose to rise above a situation that makes you feel angry because it'll only be more hostile than what it's worth. So it's sort of like asking yourself, is this person or is this situation really worth my energy? Now, you might even decide to walk away from a situation if it's not worth your energy. But if somebody keeps going on and on and on, as if they are poking the bull, then it's like, okay, now you will feel my wrath because of how disrespectful you are being. Now, with that being said, I also noticed that there's some of you who will warn others before you explode on them or before you express your anger outwardly. And so when your anger does come out, well, others can't say that you didn't warn them. Then again, perhaps people completely ignore your warning signs, and maybe this also makes you irritated because how can people be so oblivious to what is happening right in front of them? And I also find it interesting how some of you basically said that you can go from super, super chilled to completely rageful, and that people are sometimes shocked by this transition. I guess others are seeing two completely different sides to you in this respect. So whilst they may be used to seeing you being laid back, they may be used to this easygoing part of your personality, it's a terrifying switch when they realize that you aren't to be messed with or pushed around. In fact, I think you aren't the types of people who tolerate being pushed around, and so if you pick up on these behaviours from others, you will stand firm as you defend yourself. And there's no moving you or getting you to change either, because once your mind is made up, you will hold on steady and firm to your position. Now, with that being said, I also think you try to remain calm and patient when angry. And I think you Mars and Taurus individuals, you prefer to be more careful when it comes to your actions too. So when in the middle of a conflict between you and a family member, for example, I think you try your best to listen, to reason, instead of jumping in to prove the other person wrong right away. Though on the other hand, when you believe you are right, you will typically refuse to back down from being right. Sure, you might strive to remain more calm, more collected, more patient, more level-headed, but you will stick to your guns. And if you genuinely feel as if you've been hurt or attacked or just let down in a situation, you will most likely, you basically will not let things go, okay? Not until you have reached a resolve anyway, or not unless you have made your points very, very much known. Yeah, you might brush things off and you might let things slide from time to time, all whilst there's a slow and steady build up to your anger. But as soon as there is a switch, soon as you feel terribly wronged, then there's no way you're going to just accept other people's crappy behavior. Now, before I move on to the next question, I noticed that there may be some of you who are more quick to anger, okay? And that the speed of your anger depends on the situation and perhaps depends on the person as well. And so maybe your age plays a role in this speed, or as I said, maybe the situation at hand plays a role. But overall, I noticed how the vast majority of you said you are much slower to anger. And so this actually leads me on to the last anger question, and that is, how do you react when you're angry or when somebody else is angry at you? And what I noticed is how many of you release your anger physically, whether this be through hitting something or fixing something, or whether this be through some form of physical exercise, such as going to the gym or going for a run. Then again, perhaps getting out into nature helps with your anger, helps calm you down. You know, it's a really great way of releasing all of that built up tension and energy. Or, you know what, maybe music is a good way to let it all out as well. Just anything that really gets you tapping into your five senses, Mars and Taurus individuals. Then again, there may also be times when you release your anger through the likes of shouting or screaming. Though I think this happens during moments when A, you can't control your anger anymore, or B, you are enraged by a person or by a situation. Now, with that being said, I do think that you generally like to or prefer to back away from situations or people that make you angry, and even especially away from people and situations that make you just completely enraged. Perhaps you even prefer to deal with things internally, or you prefer to talk things through in your head first before expressing your anger. Maybe you prefer to have time to process things, and so you'll try your very best to remain calm and collected, or perhaps you even require a few days to go through things from within, and then when you're ready, you approach the situation or the person once again, but with more rationale and reasoning, and also just in a more calm way. And perhaps being reasonable is important to you when it comes to handling conflict. But naturally, things can become too emotionally charged in the heat of a moment. And I think you aren't the types of people to stick around when everybody is acting all emotional, especially if they aren't making sense. Yeah, I think calmly approaching a situation is what you strive to do, and it's what you prefer from others as well towards you. Or if there is absolutely nothing you can do to resolve a situation or fix a situation, maybe you walk away. And I'm sure this walking away can frustrate those who are more direct and confrontational. And when others are angry at you, I think your reaction depends on whether or not you're in the wrong, because if you believe you aren't in the wrong, well, you may act stubborn as you repeatedly defend your position, and so you will refuse to apologize for something you didn't do. You might even try to calmly make the other person see why their anger isn't justified. You might come back at them with a level-headed, more chilled response, which may work in your favor at times, but other times, not so much. In fact, you might sit there with a non-expressive face as you look at the other person thinking, what way are you even acting right now? And that zero reaction from you just might infuriate those who are looking for a reaction. It might actually appear as if you don't care, but to you, it's just common sense. So why be mad at me? Why be mad? Yeah, you might prefer to focus on the facts, on what's actually happening, rather than focusing on feelings and emotions. Some of you might even just be completely silent. And I mean eerily silent with others when you feel super, super angry with them, or when you have been deeply, deeply hurt by them. And as I've been trying to say, it takes a while to get you riled up. But when somebody continuously presents disrespectful behavior towards you or towards those that you love even, it can get to a stage where you have to cut such people off completely. So you won't say anything to them ever again, not until they give you a good reason to, not until they have changed their behaviors and their actions. And honestly, there's no denying your fixed attitude here, meaning you will not be swayed easily. Now, on the other hand, if someone else is angry at you and it is justified, maybe you've done something that has pissed them off, well, I think you typically try to be empathetic and understanding and reasonable. And I think you prefer to have a discussion about the situation in order to explain yourself, or in order to understand where the other person is coming from. And you also apologize for your wrongs. However, the thing about this is that you will not respond kindly or well, or you won't even give an apology to those who yell at you, to those who scream in your face. If others can approach the situation with some type of composure, with respect, then you're more willing to own up to your wrongs and apologize for what you did. So if at any time you can hear the other person's voice raising, perhaps you choose not to engage, or you think it's unreasonable and unproductive. Maybe you think that all of that screaming, it just gets you and other people nowhere, even though you can act this way yourself when pushed. Still, however, I think you react much better to people explaining their point in a more level-headed and rational way. Now, the last thing that I want to touch on when it comes to this is how others being angry at you can impact your self-worth and feelings of worthiness, especially if you have hurt someone that you love and then they come at you super, super mad for how you acted. You might feel guilty or upset, or you might want to walk away because of how bad you feel. Yeah, it's just not a pleasant feeling, okay? Knowing that our actions have impacted the ones that we love in a negative and uncomfortable way. And I suppose another thing about this point is that such things create disharmony between ourselves and others, between ourselves and the ones that we do love, which, to be honest, you may strongly dislike this, Mars and Taurus individuals, given that you really do value harmonious and relaxing relationships. Okay, so moving on to the next question, and that is, what turns you on and off Are you passive or active when it comes to acting on your sexual desires? Okay, so first and foremost, can I just say that you guys did not hold back when it came to describing your turn-ons. You really placed a vision in my mind, and also there were so many of you who mentioned sensations and touch and sensuality overall, which is just so Mars and Taurus to me. So looking at these answers then, some common turn-ons are things like delicious scents, soft sheets, soft skin, neck kisses, kissing with tongue, biting, gentle massage, role play, feathers, intoxicating fabrics, hearing an appealing voice, beautiful words, beautiful hands, experiencing pleasure in multiple places at once, being dominating, and people who dress nicely. All of these different things that awaken the five senses. And I especially find it interesting that a few of you mentioned people's voices and how a person's voice is a big turn on. It's a big deal to you. And I find this to be a very Taurus Phoenician thing. Perhaps even someone having a beautiful singing voice. This is a huge turn on. Or maybe there's an attraction to those who are gifted, to those who are talented when it comes to a certain art form even. Also, I picked up on how being desired is a big turn on for you Mars and Taurus individuals, and how it's so erotic being undressed by an attractive person's eyes. But then also I noticed how one of you mentioned your wife in great detail. So looking at all things that turn you on about your wife. And this to me is quite fitting, because when it comes to Mars and Taurus individuals, it could be suggested that you possess your partner, or it's that you value your partner deeply, or that your partner is a type of reward, so to speak. And so perhaps what turns you on is that of seeing your partner being pleased and desired by you. Though on the other hand, when it comes to the turn-offs, okay, well, some of them included bad smells, a voice you dislike, people who are negative and weak, fakeness, people eating too loud, sweat, heavy breathing, sticky hands, self-absorbed people, vanity, or people who don't appreciate the work and effort you put in. Again, many of these things are connected with the body and with the five senses. So essentially, I think that what's important to you Mars and Taurus individuals is pleasure along with sensuality. So things like touch, taste, smell, appearance, these things all matter when it comes to sex and relationships. Also, loyalty matters, and being appreciated and loved by your partner matters. In fact, if you ever feel like you're being put down or undervalued by your partner, let's just say it can be a huge turn-off. Now, when it comes to being passive or active, well, I picked up on how many of you said that you are more passive. Perhaps the vast majority of you Mars and Taurus folks are. Maybe you enjoy being desired and lusted after by your partner, or by somebody who you think is really, really attractive, by somebody who you really, really like. Or maybe you enjoy being chased by somebody that you're starting to date. Or maybe being more active, it comes with being comfortable and feeling more at ease with somebody else. Though with that being said, there were a couple of you who said you are more active when it comes to acting on your sexual urges and your sexual desires. Again though, perhaps being more active comes about from feeling secure with somebody else, or even it comes about from feeling more secure from within yourself too. Though another thing to mention here before we move on to the final question, And that is to do with affection and touch and tenderness within your sexual relationships. In fact, I think that these are important when it comes to your love lives. So having a partner you can cuddle with and hold hands with, a partner who is open to giving you plenty of attention through touch and affection. Maybe a hug is all you need to feel comforted within your relationships, Mars and Taurus individuals. And nothing beats having someone close and in your company. So maybe spending quality time with your partner is super, super important and also necessary if you are to feel secure and comforted. Still though, when it comes to sex, pleasure seems to be at the core of things for you. Okay, so moving on to the final question, and that is to do with what motivates you to pursue your goals, passions, and desires. And what are they? Are you disciplined? Okay, so a common theme I picked up on is how many of you Mars and Taurus folks, you procrastinate and how you can be somewhat lazy at times. I especially noticed how one of you said you could never be an entrepreneur because you find it pretty much impossible to get up at 6 o'clock each morning. But once you do start something, you must finish it. Sure, it might take a while as you go at your own pace, but you do strive to get there. Perhaps also, you must value what you're doing, or it must provide you with some type of reward at the end. Maybe you would much rather not do something that you don't value or that you dislike. And if others try to force you to get the energy to move, if they try to push on you to do something, then you'll most likely dig your heels in firmer and you will stubbornly say, nope, not doing it. You can't make me do it. Well, unless you respect whoever it is, of course. However, when it comes to something you do appreciate and that you value, there's something satisfying about finishing what you started. The tricky part is starting in the first place. And when you do start, you may be quite slow, yet determined at the same time. Maybe visibly seeing your goals helps you remain motivated and driven, or maybe seeing your actions materialize helps you with this. Could even be suggested that you're motivated by your dream future or by the success that you visualize. Or perhaps outbeating yourself motivates you, or making a lot of money does. Or perhaps it's your pleasures and your desires and your comforts that motivate you. So being able to set up a sustainable livelihood for yourself, or even a sustainable livelihood for you and your loved ones, such as living in a secure and steady home, or living in a super comfortable and cozy home where there's plenty of food and drink and comforting materials. Or perhaps work itself is something that motivates you, such as working up the corporate ladder or seeing how well you can improve at work. Maybe it's extremely rewarding seeing how you've gradually progressed over a certain period of time. And so when you feel quite accomplished in this respect, maybe you're more disciplined. You're most likely going to stick at something, even if that something isn't really work related. Or perhaps knowing you can provide for yourself is motivating within itself. And as I say, if you have other people that you're supporting, that you're providing for, such as a family, well, being able to provide for them may be a huge motivating factor. Now, I also noticed how one of you said that you want to experience all the pleasures the world has to offer, and I thought this was quite fitting with the Mars and Taurus energy. But then also you said that one of the most pleasurable things is doing what you like and then rest. And this point stood out to me because When it comes to this energy, you typically aim to find the balance between rest and work. In fact, being able to unwind, I think, is an important part of your lives, Mars and Taurus individuals. So sure, you might have all the stamina to execute your goals, but once you've completed them, it is straight to some self-care, relaxation, sleep, snacking, or just simply chilling on the sofa. All your hard work is so you can gain the money in order to bring all of those good things into your life. Though on the other hand, I also think being disciplined within other areas of your life can be challenging. So looking at the food department, for example, along with exercise and fitness. And so in this respect, perhaps you find it difficult to keep up with having a healthy diet or a fitness routine due to work responsibility or obligations, for example, or maybe it's just easier to order food in. Then again, perhaps you can't help but give into the temptation, okay? You can't help but give into that pleasure when it comes to your food intake. Though the last thing that I just want to touch on is to do with how your goals may be art or creativity related. Perhaps you're into design or fashion or beauty, for example, or maybe you love music, dance, or song, or you love creating beautiful materials, or maybe you even love cooking or baking. Though essentially, you just might be drawn to the arts, Mars and Taurus individuals. And as I was saying a moment ago, when you find something you enjoy, when you find something that you love and that you are truly passionate about, you are more likely to be determined and you will put in so many hours of work and practice too. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video all about the anger, turn-ons and motivations of those of you who have Mars in the sign of Taurus. Now, if you do happen to have your Mars in the sign of Taurus, then please let us know what you thought of the video in the comment section down below. And also, once again, I just want to say a big, massive thank you to all of you Mars and Taurus individuals who took part by answering the questions today. Thank you so, so much. But with all that being said, thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then make sure that you click that subscribe button, and also make sure that you give this video a like, remember, and I will be back with another video very, very soon. Bye!